delegates, I apologize for the way this process has unfolded, and I'm deeply sorry. I also understand the deep disappointment. But I think, as you have noted, it's also vital that we protect this package.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The world is gonna end. Do you know who you need to blame? You need to blame bloody China and India. But especially China, because I'm Indian myself, so I don't want Indians to take all the blame. So let's put China in the mix as well. Let's not blame the Western world. We had nothing to do with it. The Americans, the Europeans, the British. No blame goes to you lot. It's only China and India that's trying to end the world. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. And my name is AJ. I'm going to be talking about COP26. I'm going to be talking about the summit meeting between Biden and President Xi Jinping, and talking about the infrastructure bill as well. So without further ado, guys, let's continue with the show. So as you know, the COP26 has recently finished, and the blaming game has already started. The propaganda wars has already started, and I'm just sick of it, guys. I mean, look at this. Boris Johnson blasts China and India for dodging fossil fuel commitment. UK is blaming India and China for COP26 failures to hide its own inaction. So this guy has been going around. I mean, look at his face. He looks really pissed at the moment. And this guy's going around blaming China, blaming India, when India's the one actually stood up and said no to these coal measures. And yeah, obviously China's agreed to it, but India's the one actually stood up and said no to it. But because this guy is Indian himself, he doesn't want to give India all the blame, so he says, oh, India and China. But what about all these other countries that are not agreed to it? Has he included them? Has he included USA that's not agreed to it? This guy is an absolute joke, seriously. Because there were people in COP26, guys, and you know, the US, the West has failed to take any responsibility for the amount of carbon dioxide there is in the world today. I mean, for 200 years, they've been running the coal plants and, you know, running all sorts of CO2 plants for 200 years. They are the reason why they are developed today, because they've been getting away with running coal plants and what have you not. And now when the developing country want to do it, when the developing country want to develop their economy, they're like, no, you guys need to stop. We're already developed, so, you know, that's fine. We'll stop the coal usage. But you guys, no, you guys need to stop. The world is going to end otherwise. You know, it's absolutely hypocrisy. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's a bloody cheek that these guys are coming on national television, going to the media and blaming China, blaming India. What about their own inactions? In COP26, they wanted to put a resolution to say not only coal, but we want to limit all fossil fuels. But America stood up and said, no, not on your life. We're not going to limit all fossil fuels. Our oil industry is our industry. Even Saudi Arabia said that. And so they've targeted coal basically, because China and India and a few other countries are emitting a lot of coal CO2. So they don't want to limit the developed countries. They want to limit the developing countries. And it's just hypocrisy, guys. Absolutely hypocrisy. I've never seen anything like it. And this guy's bloody cheek blaming China and blaming India. This guy with his fake crocodile tears. I mean, come on, mate. Grow a couple of balls, will you? I mean, I've never seen a guy cry like that before in my life. And if I did, I would probably slap him in the head and say, oi, be a man. What the hell are you doing? Seriously, this guy with his fake crocodile tears. The only other time I've seen fake crocodile tears like that is that Uyghur woman who's pretending to be raped, and it's just like she's trying to force herself to cry, but no tears were coming out. It's absolutely really ridiculous acting. Absolutely acting. They need to fire their coach, both of them, and they need to probably hire a new agent, because this agent giving them false information and telling them to cry in front of the world stage like that is, should be sackable. The guy just looks like a fool crying in front of the world stage. You look like a fool, mate. Nobody buys your crocodile tears. Nobody buys your crocodile tears. Everyone knows the West has failed its responsibility to the world, and now it's trying to blame China and trying to blame India as well. So let's hear what he has to say, shall we?
To do more. But as I said, in relation to what happened yesterday, China and India will have to explain themselves and what they did to the most climate vulnerable countries in the world.
Can you see this guy, right? Do you call this diplomacy, guys? Do you actually call this any form of diplomacy? You're the president of COP26, and here you are pointing fingers at certain countries like China and India. Is that what presidents do or in front of the media? I mean, this is like, who hired this guy? Seriously, this is absolute joke, guys. I mean, who hired these stupid politicians that go around in front of the televisions blaming India, blaming China? So what about the rest of the world? What about America? What about the West? What about the Europeans that have been polluting the world for 200 years? What about the blame for that? The West has been, shrieking its responsibility, all this time, and now they want to blame the developing world. I mean, get a joke, mate. Get a life. This is the most stupidest guy I've ever seen in my life. Seriously, he's just so dumb. He's just part of the same stupid government. I mean, seriously, man. Seriously, sort it out. The American military is the most polluting military out there, but they don't even put that in the climate change. They don't even say anything to the American military. In the COP, they wanted to get rid of all fossil fuels, but the Americans stood up and said, no, we can't get rid of our oil, but however, we can get rid of your coal. Don't forget, these developing countries are reliant on coal because it's cheap, while these developed countries, they've already developed their economies, right? And they've got the money to move away from coal and use other renewable sources, nuclear and things like that. They've got the money, and they've been doing that for years. America's got the largest amount of nuclear. America's got largest amount of renewable. Same with Britain and Europe. And yet, these developing countries who don't have the money, they're obviously going to go with coal because it's the cheapest. But the West doesn't even want to give them the money, to go to renewables. This 100 billion a year, it hasn't even been approved or agreed. It's been agreed, but they've been coming short. They've been coming short. And so, what do you want these developing countries to do? Seriously, absolute joke. Absolute joke. If you want the developing countries to start moving away from coal, then the developed countries need to take responsibility and help them move away from coal. Give them money to go into renewables. If you're not going to give them money, then how are they going to do it? This guy, man, just pointing two fingers at India and China. What about America? America's also said no to this coal thing, because America said no to the fossil fuel thing as well. He's not going to say anything about America, is he? Oh, this guy's a joke, man. So every article I look at is pretty much got China's name on it, India's name on it. This one with Boris Johnson blasting China and India for dodging fossil fuel commitment. And I'm just sick of it, guys. I mean, this is the only article which I found which is actually true to how I think and actually speaks the truth. But every other UK paper, American paper is pretty much blaming China and India. And it's alright for them to do so because they don't want to blame themselves for all of this crisis we're having. They want to blame these developing countries. As you can see here, rich nations have caused climate change. And of course, because not many people realize that the US generates over 15 tons of carbon emissions per person. and that's double, right? Double what the Chinese are doing. And the UK does 5.5 tons per person, but that's more than double than India. So you can see, it's not just China and India which are the biggest carbon emitters. It is America and Britain. People don't realize it's per person. Per person, America and UK is higher because you got 1.4 billion people living in China, 1.3 in India. Per person, they're not the biggest emitters. It's US and it's Britain, and they don't really tell you that, do they? It's all right for them to lecture and scapegoat less wealthy and less polluting nations for not reducing their low emissions more quickly, but they don't look at themselves. Climate change is a global problem that requires global solutions and social justice. Exactly. Not pointing fingers at, going, where, I blame China, I blame India, they need to explain themselves to all these countries that are going to sink below the water, where. Do you know what I mean? If this is not, this is not what you call diplomacy, right? This is absolutely disgusting, guys. Absolutely disgusting. Rich countries should be sharing technology with poorer countries, increasing aid budget and getting their own houses in order first. So a lot of these technologies like solar, wind, all the latest technologies, the West is, stopping the poorer nations from developing them. And if they do want them, they charge them a ridiculous, silly price for it. It's like, all right, we'll give you the technology, but you got to pay us top dollar for it. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. They need to subsidize these technologies and give them to these poorer countries so they can move away from coal. It's absolutely ridiculous, guys, how these Western countries completely absolve themselves of any blame or wrongdoing, yet they're happy to blame China and happy to blame India. So that you see, the blame game has already started, and it's pretty much all over the papers now, and it doesn't really matter what China does in terms of going to carbon net zero. The amount of solar power that China's doing, renewables that China doing, really doesn't matter to the rest of the world. According to the rest of the world, and according to the media, and probably to the general public as well, they think, China's the biggest emitter, India's the biggest emitter, so they're the bad guys. They're the ones we need to blame when the world goes into shit. Absolutely ridiculous, guys. Seriously, I'm just sick of it. Sick of all these lies. Now, this brings me on to the next story. There was a summit today between President Xi and Biden. And I was looking at all the messages and text and everything that's going on. Nothing important has come out of it, really. It's basically the same old crap that America does. Having these stupid little summits where they can basically shout at China saying, naughty, you are naughty boy. Nothing comes out of it, and there's nothing agreed. Pretty much the same old speeches from speech writers, etc. Nothing's been agreed, nothing's going to happen. And as you can see, this particular part in the BBC website, the world's two most powerful nations do not see eye to eye on a number of issues, and Mr. Biden raised US concerns about human rights abuses in Hong Kong and against Uyghurs in the northwest region of Xinjiang. China accuses the US of meddling in its domestic affairs. So I can imagine these summits, right, where President Biden's like, hey man, listen man, you gotta stop torturing those Uyghurs, man. You gotta stop doing that, man. You gotta let them go. You gotta let all these 3 million Uyghurs go, man. Just let them go. Stop torturing them. Stop raping them, man. That's against human rights. We don't like it. And you gotta let Hong Kong go, man. Give it back to the British, Hong Kongers, just give it back to the British. Give Macau back to the Portuguese. We don't like it, man. Yeah, you gotta do that, man. Just do it. So you got this. You got on trade, Biden highlighted the need to protect American workers and industries from the People's Republic of China's unfair trade and economic practices. So are companies like Apple and all these other American companies holding a gun to China's head saying, you got to let us use your country, you got to let us use your people, you're going to build factories there, we're going to build all these iPhones for cheap, if you don't do it, we're going to kill your families. Do you really think all these American companies are forcing China to work in China? Of course not. They're leaving America of their own accord. They're leaving America because it's too damn expensive to do anything in America anymore. And you got to look at the inflation. Everything is expensive. The rent is expensive. The costs of living expensive. You got the wages that is expensive, and the raw materials are expensive. So it makes sense for all of these American companies to go to places like China, where it's much cheaper. And then the American consumers basically get the benefit for that because they get cheaper goods. If everything starts being built in America, you'll see inflation going through the roof. Is that what Biden wants? This guy is completely off touch. He doesn't know what he's talking about at all. And then you got things like this, which I've read, basically. Biden claims infrastructure bill will help arrest surging inflation. How the hell is an infrastructure bill going to help with inflation? Seriously, this guy has got no clue whatsoever. So let me tell you what's going to happen, guys. You got the infrastructure bill, and they're going to start doing all sorts of work around all these infrastructure places around America. But what about the raw materials? Everything is going up. All the prices are going up. Even China's struggling with the cost of raw materials. And where are they going to get these raw materials from? Because America has not been doing any infrastructure for the past 50 years. So any infrastructure work, they normally have to get these raw materials from China. So they're going to have to pay China to bring all these raw materials to America. And then they got all these high prices, labor costs, and all these other high prices they're going to do. You'll see this infrastructure bill, $1 trillion, it's going to disappear within a few months, and they'll run out. They'll be like, oh shit, the money's gone, we need more. $1 trillion is not enough. China has been spending trillions and trillions in its infrastructure for the past 20-30 years, and that's only because it's cheap labor in China, and it was cheap materials, cheap goods, everything was cheap. But now everything's gone up. So how the hell is it gonna lower this infrastructure bill and lower the inflation? The inflation's gonna go up because the cost of everything is just going up. So I have no idea what this guy's on about, seriously. So this, summit was pretty much a waste of time. Nothing's been talked about, nothing's been agreed. It was like another Anchorage where Biden can show off in front of the media saying, yeah, I had a go at China. I told them about, all these, human rights abuses, Xinjiang. I've told them about all of these things. I've told them how naughty they are. It's just another way of America just, showing off to the public and showing off to the media. But one thing that's quite funny is Xi Jinping called him an old friend. And it's quite funny because he's not, obviously, when you call someone an old friend, normally means they are not a friend. They're an old friend who kind of stabbed you in the back. So, for example, if I'm walking down the street and I find someone who stabbed me in the back previously, I would be like, all right, my old friend, how you doing? I'm not going to call him my new friend or best friend or dear friend or anything like that, old friend. And I thought it's quite funny, actually. You call that to somebody who actually stabbed you in the back, or you're no longer friends, but you used to be friends, but not anymore. And Biden's going around America saying, no, me and Xi Jinping never been friends, and we're not friends, blah blah blah. And then Xi Jinping goes, hello, my old friend. And I just thought it's quite funny, and I think it's definitely Xi Jinping got one up on Biden on that one. So yeah, the whole thing was a waste of time, guys. I mean, inflation is rising. America needs to lower all these stupid tariffs they got on China, because the only people that's suffering is the American public, American consumers. The inflation is going through the roof. So if they really want to reduce inflation, they need to get rid of all of these tariffs immediately. And if I was China, I would say no. I would not reduce any tariffs from America, because I would say, first of all, unless you remove all of these companies from the blacklist, companies like Huawei and all these other companies in there, IT companies and Comac and things like that. So unless America starts removing this blacklist of Chinese companies which they're trying to take under, then I wouldn't, if I was China, I wouldn't reduce any tariffs on America, because America needs to reduce the tariffs because it's affecting its own people, affecting its own consumers. China doesn't need to remove the tariffs. So if America wants to do that, they can do it. But if America asks China to do it in return, I think China should say no. I'll say sorry, unless you guys start removing not only all the tariffs but all the blacklists and everything like that, especially on Huawei, where Huawei is allowed to buy chips and things like that, then China can do an action in return. But right now America is getting desperate. They're the ones that wanted this summit, not China. Let's get this straight. They wanted this summit, and to me it just looks like a waste of time. Nothing's been agreed, nothing's been talked about. It's pretty much the same old Anchorage Part 2, except with a lesser language, and I just don't think much will happen from here, to be honest. I think give it a few days and America's going to start the same old rhetoric with Taiwan, start sending delegates over there, they'll start talking about Uyghurs. Give it a few days, let this die down, and it's going to be back to usual again. So anyway guys, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.